Most people don't understand the true power of breathwork because they're looking for the wrong thing. Imagine having 100 cereals in a bowl. If someone were to add one piece of cereal into the bowl, would you notice the difference? What about 2, 3, 4? How do you measure real change in yourself? Most people expect life-changing transformations to feel obvious. A big breakthrough, a huge shift that fixes everything. But the truth is, the most powerful changes often feel like nothing. This video is about the secret no one tells you about breathwork and how tiny improvements repeated daily can lead to massive, lasting change. Hi. My name is Krittero. I'm a breathwork and mindfulness coach with a 20-year background in traditional martial arts and movement, and I've been teaching for almost 15 years in these areas. I've helped thousands of people through this channel here and my academy to improve their lives with the power of breathwork and mindfulness. Let's start with the powerful idea that we humans don't instinctively have in us, but need to make an effort to grasp. If you improve by just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you will be 36.5 times better than when you started. When you add 1% more cereals into a bowl, it doesn't really feel like much. You throw it on the table and you don't even notice the difference. But do that every day and you end up needing a basket instead of a bowl. We are wired to look for big dramatic changes. That dopamine spike, that before and after transformation, that 2-minute training montage from Rocky or your favorite anime. But real progress, especially with things like breathwork, mindfulness and health, is rarely obvious. It's subtle, and because it's subtle, we often miss it or neglect these sorts of activities altogether. Here's the trap I see all the time. Someone starts with breathwork or meditation from a place of anxiety, stress, or emotional overwhelm, and they expect one session to fix everything. Sometimes, yes, there are sessions that create deep emotional shifts, a sudden calm, tears, clarity, healing, but more often than not, the magic of breathwork isn't in the breakthrough, it's in the repetition. It's in the gentle nudge, not the dramatic leap. You might feel just 3% calmer, sleep 5% deeper, make one better decision under pressure, and those small shifts add up if you stick with them. Let's take a broader look at health. You don't work out for 6 hours once and call yourself fit. You don't brush your teeth for 1 hour on Sunday and skip the rest of the week. You don't meditate once and expect to become enlightened. Health doesn't work that way. Neither does breathwork. It's not a hack, it's hygiene, daily maintenance, lifelong cultivation. And here's how most people stop. They don't see immediate benefits, so they think the system doesn't work. Imagine running into a door. If it doesn't open, you don't keep running into it. You try the handle, you try the key, you try something that gives you feedback. Habits need the same feedback loop, but what if the benefits are so small you don't even feel them? That's where many people give up. Not because the system failed, but because they lack the awareness to see the small improvements and the patience to wait for them to compound. Breathwork does a few core things really well. It shifts your autonomic nervous system. It increases vagal tone. It regulates your arousal level, either up or down. It creates space mentally, emotionally, and physically. But it doesn't feel like drinking a Red Bull. You won't instantly fix your stress or erase your fears. What it does is create a tiny window, a pause, so to speak, where you can choose differently. It gives you just enough space to reflect, to calm down, to make a better decision, to push a little longer, or to fall asleep a little easier. Everyone talks about motivation, but the real challenge is friction. It's the rainy day when you don't feel like running. It's the mental resistance of a busy day to sitting down and breathing deliberately or meditating. Deliberate breathing helps reduce that friction. It's a gentle push. A push towards action when you feel lazy. Push towards calm when you're anxious. a push towards discipline when distraction is easier. And that gentle push, repeated daily, becomes momentum that compounds over time. So the question is, what actually helps to stay consistent? There are a few things that I can share with you. Adjust your expectations. Don't chase fireworks. Look for the candlelight, a steady light. If you know that changes are going to compound, it's easier to expect tiny improvements over big shifts. Train your awareness. Journal, reflect, track your state before and after. If you make an effort to notice small improvements through various methods, such as cultivating your awareness, journaling, sharing your progress with friends through talking or a community, or simply tracking basic habits, it becomes easier to see your progress, no matter how small they are. Have a system. Know what you're practicing and why. Follow a program or a roadmap. Having a process is a crucial part of following a habit and putting effort into something where the benefits aren't immediately apparent. Following a system with a structure, progress plan, and milestones is very helpful for that. Measure your progress. Find ways to track your progress. Have regular check-ins with yourself or a coach to assess your progress. Adapt your practice to your progress. Adjust things if you're hitting a roadblock, or test and experiment with different approaches. But all these things need to be compared to something. So don't just go by gut feeling. Track important parameters. Journal. Just measuring things will improve the likelihood of sticking to a habit. Share your wins. Join a community, tell a friend, share micro progress to stay connected. We thrive in communities when we feel part of a bigger movement of like-minded people. Trust the map. Even when you can't see the destination yet, you need to trust the process when you don't see or feel the 1% improvements. Trust that a continuous practice will compound over time. Be patient and give your practice enough time to evolve before making any changes and evaluating them. There's a quote I love. Without the map, you don't know if you're lost or just walking a very long road. If you want to put that in practice, I have a free course on how to overcome fear and limiting beliefs through a system of constant tiny improvements in breathwork and mindfulness. You can directly experience the power of compounding when it comes to breathwork and meditation. You can find a link in the description. When you don't feel the benefit yet, what keeps you going? Yes, I know, I just told you to trust the process. But when do I know when to trust the process and when something is not working and I need to pivot? For me, it's the science and following a proven system. Reading studies on the nervous system and on breathwork. Understanding how breathing shifts my physiology. This and the integration of ancient practices that have been effectively helping people over many generations with the same problem can put trust into a process, even if the results aren't immediately apparent. But there's also the time dimension. I've already spoken about expectation. However, with that time dimension where I don't expect immediate results, I also need a high level of inhibition to constantly change my activities. If I change my practice every day, I will always just scratch the surface without making significant improvements. I personally stick with the exact same program for a given practice for at least 6 weeks before making any changes to the program. And this applies to my movement practice and my meditation and breathwork practice. You need to give your body and mind time to adapt. We need to stop ourselves from constantly wanting to adapt and optimize things. I know we want variety, new impulses, a sense of progress. However, this hunger for novelty can hinder genuine progress. So embrace boring repetition over constant novelty. It's simple but not easy to follow. Here's a strange truth, especially with meditation. The better you get, the more distracted you feel. But why is that? Because your awareness is improving. You're noticing more. That can feel overwhelming or distracting, especially if you were expecting stillness in your thoughts. It can feel like a step backward, but it's not regression, it's refinement. Same with breathwork. As your awareness sharpens, the feedback loop gets tighter. And this also means you sense and feel more friction, more tension, more emotions. And this can feel like a step backwards. But it's only what you notice that you actually can keep and change. And over time, that helps you to adjust and optimize and evolve faster. So here's the secret no one tells you about breathwork. It's not about instant transformation. It's about cultivation. It's not about breakthroughs. It's about momentum. It's not about big shifts. It's about subtle control of your inner world. Real change is quiet. It happens when no one's watching. It feels like nothing until it becomes everything. So don't wait for the fireworks. Notice the candles, steady light, the slow burn, and trust the system. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.